Hey, my name's Riley. I'm 23 and my pronouns are she, her.
My name is Ruben. I'm 18 years old and my pronouns are they, them.
Hi, my name's Monique. I am 25 and my pronouns are they, them.
I kind of realised when I was about 14 that I liked girls.
I identify as agender.
I am non-binary and I would say I identify as queer as the main label. It was really nice growing up in a church community because we got to meet lots of people who supported us through life. They babysat us when I was young and invited us over for dinner and things like that, which was a really good community to be a part of and to feel that support.
Faith is very important to me. I believe the things that Christians believe. Like, I love my neighbour, I love God. But I haven't told really anyone in the church spaces. I've never been out at a church. It almost feels a bit separate from my identity, which I don't want it to be.
When I was 18, I moved interstate to go to university and I started going to a Pentecostal church. So when I got into a relationship with someone else who went to that church, and when we came out to them, they told us that we could either break up or leave the church. And so we did end up leaving the church, and it was fairly messy. No one from that church has ever talked to us since.
I felt a bit uncomfortable in the way that people would act and say things about queer people, not realising that there might be a queer person or multiple queer people in the room, in the space. When I went to uni, I think I was 20 years old. I moved to uni in another city. I chose to go to a new Pentecostal church there. In that same church, after another year or so, I met someone there who I started dating, and after a few months we decided to tell the leaders in the church what was going on, because we didn't want to hide it. We didn't think it was anything wrong, and at that point they got really serious and upset about it, and again said that there would be no place for us in the church. But also by our friends or the people that we knew in the church, lack of support for us and kind of silence on the issues somehow felt worse than what was happening externally. So,
or anything to do with that sort of stuff just makes me want to leave. It really hurts to be seen as someone with a disease that needs to get better.
At the time that I got kicked out of the church, I was 20. Most of the decisions were being made by people who were at least 10 years older than me. I was quite vulnerable living in a new city, but I think the only thing that those people saw was that I had stepped out of line. They compared it to someone stealing money from the church, or they also compared it to someone like preying upon young girls in the church. Like, these people have to be removed for the safety of everyone.
in the end, that was the experience for me, getting kicked out of the church that I thought was supposed to support me and was supposed to be my community. We were no longer welcome, so that's what happened.
They put out articles on their website and they did whole sermons about how they had to discipline members of the community and how we all need to be, holding ourselves to higher standards and stuff like that. It obviously became clear that my acceptance in those spaces had always been conditional upon being a certain kind of person. I think for a long time I'd known that I had to keep certain things secret in order to continue belonging.
It feels almost like you can't be part of the community, you're just a patient. Like, it really just separates you from a good, close belonging in the church.
So I think for a long time, both before and after coming out, I felt this intense pressure upon myself to be a perfect Christian, to not be questioning or doubting things around others, because I knew that when I did come out, I didn't want people to be able to say, oh, well, she was never a real Christian in the first place. Like, I wanted them to see me as a real, complete person, very dedicated to the faith. But even now, I still worry that if I were to leave faith entirely, that I would be somehow having let them win, or showing people that queer people actually can't be Christians, just because that was something that I held so strongly at that time.
Hello, I'm Reverend Erin Mawini. I'm the minister at West End Uniting Church. Pronouns are she, her. I know that there's sometimes a lot of pain historically between LGBTIQ people and some churches, and so that's a process that needs a lot of healing sometimes. So For us to be a genuinely affirming church, I like to say we have to be loudly affirming.
I really wish that some of the Christians that I had encountered would have just taken some more time and effort into putting themselves into my shoes and trying to really understand how even both the negative things that they said, but also like their neutrality and the times that they just let other people say things without disrupting, and to understand and really reflect upon how harmful that can be towards people.
John 10:10, Jesus is talking about he has come in order that people may have life in all its fullness. If there is a queer person who comes into the church who feels that they can't be their true self because of somebody else in the church saying, no, we only have a certain type of people here, then that's not life in all its fullness.
It can go either one of two ways. I can keep going like this, just sort of distancing my true self from the church community while still knowing that I have faith as a queer person, or I could find a good place where I can belong and exist as a queer person in the church. And I would really love that, but
I think faith to me is a kind of unerring belief in something greater than you, whether it be God or the universe or the goodness of humanity.
I think I'm still on a journey of figuring out where my place is in the church. My idea of faith is not that it's a journey with a destination, but it's more of the ongoing experiences that I have with the world and with things that are greater than myself.
I'm not sure I see a future for myself in the church, in the near future at least. I know that I have felt a good sense of community and belonging in churches in the past, and I would hope that I could have that in the future. But I feel that that's probably further off than I would want it to be, just because of the attitudes that people still hold within most churches.
I just want to say sorry to those people. We're all made in the image of God. I strongly believe that God doesn't make mistakes. Sometimes some of us just need to let go of what we think people should be like and just accept people for who they are.
God has created this like magical universe filled with amazing and interesting and beautiful and different things. So I guess my encouragement to people would be to, do what it says in the Bible, to look around at the world and see God's character through the world that God has created, and then to apply that to their perspectives towards queerness.
So I think I would remind the church and remind Christians that queer people are everywhere, whether you like it or not, and they're not there to topple the Christian institution, which I think some Christians believe. Well, mostly what queer people want is to be accepted and to feel like they belong in churches and things like that.
yeah, my message is we are people and we love God. We just want to find a church that can love us too.
Out with my 12 best friends, I wanna be like